Hi everyone, Kush this side. Welcome to my channel. For those of us who are here for the first time, thank you so much for joining in. And for those of us who have been here with me for long, I apologize. I know it's been more than 3 years since I uploaded anything. No excuses, but I'm starting fresh, so here I am. Just an introduction to all of y'all. My name's Kush. This channel is for all of us to learn everything about Docker, cloud, DevOps, SRE, everything in that space, right? And we learn together. I'm going to learn with you all. It's an ever emerging technology industry. Things keep changing every other day. There'll be new tool coming in even as we are speaking. So all of us are learning really. We will have very simple tutorials to understand the concepts, to understand various technologies, and we will have it with a demo, a simple demo. I will be trying to share as much as I can in the description, be it the GitHub link, any reference documentations, and we'll take it from there. Any questions that you all have, anything that you all recommend, anything that you all specifically want us to learn together, please put it in the comment section, and I would really try to make it work. And yeah, let's get started. For today, we will talk about Docker. Okay. For those of us who have heard about it, and for those of us who have never heard about it, it's fine because we'll start with very basic. In fact, we'll not even talk software to understand Docker initially. Okay. Let's take an example of the shipping industry. Okay. Before the containers came into being, the packages, they were packaged any way the packaging industry wanted, in barrels, in boxes, whatever they liked, in whatever dimensions they liked, right? And then transporting them via trains or trucks or ships was very problematic, inconvenient because of the varying definitions and the varying sizes of everything. And that was challenging. And then came the industry wherein we have shipping containers. So no matter what's inside, you have a fixed container, right? And then this, because it's fixed, it's predictable, it is efficient, hence it is easy to route it to trucks or trains on ships, and it becomes a very convenient way of getting your work done. And that is precisely what also Docker does for you. When you talk about softwares, it can run in my system and then it may not run in yours because, hey, you don't have the needed dependencies for it to run, right? Maybe it's not OS compliant or whatever. But have I had thought of Dockerizing it. The moment I Dockerize it, it is available as a container. So what happens really is my application and anything and everything that it needs to run is packaged into this unit called containers. And then these containers can run anywhere on a laptop, on a system, on cloud, anywhere, right? And that's exactly the beauty of Docker. It creates that encapsulation or that isolation independent of your host's operating system for your application to run without any problems. As long as you have packaged it well, as long as you have containerized it the right way. Now, with that being said, we'll go through a very simple demo. We may hear a couple of jargons of Docker here and there, and we will talk about them in depth in our next session. But for today, I just want to run something, and for all of y'all also to do the same. When you are able to run something and you see the output, it interests you to learn something more. So if I keep it very theoretical, wherein I'm only talking about components and this is the architecture and this is how the flow works, it may not get your interest. So we'll run something, we will see it work, and then in the next connect, we will talk in depth about these components. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm hoping y'all can see it. So here we go. So what you'll see on the screen right now is a Visual Studio Code. This is a publicly available repository in GitHub. I will share the link in the description. It's a very simple node application, which basically will tell you, hey, you've ran your first container. That's it. Okay. Now for us to Dockerize it, we have to basically provide some instructions, right? And those instructions are precisely documented in this thing called Dockerfile. So Dockerfile will host all the instructions which are needed for your application to be containerized. And that basically means your application, its dependencies, what does it need to run, everything you will provide as instructions in the Docker file, and then you're able to containerize it. You would see a couple of lines over here. Each line is an instruction which has a specific type of instruction. These are called commands: from instruction, work dir, copy, run, expose. We will talk all of them in our next connect. For now, just understand Dockerfile is my instruction for the application to Dockerize or in order to create a container version of it, right? So I have my application and I'm packaging all my dependencies in with the help of Dockerfile as instructions. So now that my Docker file is ready, I need to tell Docker that, hey, I have my instructions available. Please Dockerize or please containerize my application. The process by which the instructions work and they containerize your application, it creates an artifact. That artifact is called an image, a Docker image. And Docker image is the read-only version of your container. When your container when your image is running, it is the container. So we always have this, I have this way of remembering things. The read-only version of my container is an image, and when I'm running my image, it becomes a container. So we'll see that work, okay? So what are we gonna do? We are gonna containerize it. We are gonna create an image from my app for my application using the Dockerfile instructions. So I will give some commands. I will say Docker build. I will give a name to the image, say welcome to Docker in the current directory. So these are CLIs, ways in which we make API request to this very important person called Docker D. We will talk about the Docker architecture also in our following sessions, okay? So just remember, when we have to Dockerize, we have to do it via CLIs. We do it through Docker CLI, and these CLIs pretty much send API requests to a component called Docker D, which takes care of addressing or entertaining those requests. So by means of Docker build, I'm building an image of my application. And with -t, I give the name and a tag for the image. I can give a tag also, and dot will specify look in the current directory for the Docker file. So if you want to, so by default, this is how the Docker file is written, D capital Docker file, no space, nothing. In case you want to be a little naughty, you want to give it some other name, you have to explicitly specify it using the -f file instruction. So you would say at the end -f and then the name of the file. Most of us don't do that, but y'all can try it out. That being said, I'm going to run it and it is going to create an image now of my application. See, because I've ran it multiple times, it is also caching most of the things. So that's why it's also very quick. If you have done it once and if you repeat, only the changed instructions are done again. Other things, if have already been cached, it will be very quick. So my image is already available. How do I check it? I would say Docker image ls, and I can see welcome to Docker is always already available. At the same time, you also have a desktop version of your Docker called Docker Desktop. You can install it. It's an interactive UI to play with the Docker, right? To basically work with your Docker. So you can see the image is also now available. Welcome to Docker, right? And now, since my image is available, let's run it. So we're going to use the Docker Desktop way today. So I'll say run. When I'm running, I'm now containerizing my image. So as soon as I say run, I have to also specify a host port. See, container is an isolated uh, package within your system. It has to run independent of the host, but we are going to run it on the host at the end of the day. So what you basically do, you map the container port to the host port so that your container is running on that specific host port, and you can have multiple containers running on your application, and any of them, if need a port mapping, you provide that as part of your container process. That's what we are doing right now. So I'm going to say, hey, please run on 8080 port on my host. Although in the application, if you see the Docker file, it's going to be 3000, which is the port at which the container would be running the application. With that being said, I would just say run. And right now, if you see, it's accepting connections at localhost 3000. So what we have done, we have mapped this localhost 3000 is containers localhost. But for us, we are working with localhost 8080. And what you can do is, if I click on containers over here, it's a random name given by Docker Desktop to my container because I use the click ops and it is available. It is up and running. I can also see here with CLI, if I say Docker container ls, you see my application has been containerized and there is a container running up since 31 seconds. And it is having the 8080 to 3000 mapping. Now let's run it and see how it works. So I just simply Go to the container, and you know the port, it is 8080, right? So what I do, I click on localhost 8080 and there I go. Congratulations, you ran your first container, which we did. So that's pretty much it. What we did, we read about what Docker is at a very high level. Then what did we do? We saw a simple code. We saw what is a Docker file. We didn't go deep dive into the instructions. We will do that in the subsequent sessions. And then we created an image out of our application, and then we ran the image, which is what is our container running right in front of your screen. With that, I'm going to stop my screen share. All right, that's done. So that's how it is. This is what basic Docker is for you. Please let me know if y'all have any feedback, put it in the comments, and hopefully in the next Connect, we will do a Docker architecture, and then we will go through the instructions of a Docker file. That's what we'll do. We will understand what is an image in depth, and then what is a container. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I want to keep it simple tutorials so that all of us can understand and learn together. Thank you so much, everyone. Please take care and see you guys next time. Bye bye.